Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome back to Dev Chatter. Let me just mess around with the camera there for a second. Hopefully everybody's having a good Tuesday. Hey, welcome everybody. As you can probably tell from my voice, I'm still working off this cold a little bit, so don't mind that I'm going to cough a little bit. Luckily, this microphone does not pick up any human viruses and transmit them to you. Welcome. We are just getting started here. I'm going to take a little bit of time while people come in to talk about our project and what we're going to be working on, what we're doing here, just while everybody moseys on in. So what we've been building here at Dev Chatter is our C# chatbot. Is the primary project that we've been going on for a little while now. And don't worry, we will work on other projects, not just a chatbot. That is not all we do here. So what we've been building is primarily it is a console application at this point, but I say that because our console application, you'll notice, is basically nothing. It's just some startup code. And Sudoku, you want to switch those parameters. So person and then the amount. Yep, so like that. Anyway, so what I was saying is the console application is a very small part of the app. Most of what we've got here. Hey, welcome everybody from C# Fritz's stream. Everybody that was lurking around there. Hopefully you guys had a good stream today. Yes. The console application is very little of our application. Most of it lives within a couple of class libraries, so this is extremely portable. We could move this to ASP.NET Core. We could leave it in a console application. We could move this to Azure. We could build a client-side application. We could pick one of the frameworks that is going to use .NET Core and allow us to make GUI applications on Windows, Linux, etc. And we could get away with a lot of that stuff using our class libraries. Arid tag, that would be a great question, and I can ask when that would be. So, easy thing. Here's what we're going to do. I will go ahead and write a tweet and say the viewers, we'll pull this over here so you guys can see, the viewers on Dev Chatter want to know when you're going to visit us here. So the easy answer then to all of you guys is if you do want them to show up, like and retweet this. Hey, John Skeet, the viewers on Dev Chatter want to know when you're going to visit us here. Any chance you'd be interested in appearing? Yeah, that looks good. Oh. Well then. I will click that. Cool. All right. So welcome everybody. We are just getting started here. Welcome Crimson Green, Sudoku, Arid Tag, Black Elvis, and anybody else that's in here and hasn't spoken up yet. You are all awesome people, so thank you for being here and having fun with us today. So we have a handful of issues that we're working on. One of the things that I wanted to take a look at, and I've gotten us started on this, and I will show you guys. I started a branch to clean up some of our unit tests, so I figured that's a good place to work today. I figured we'd jump through a little bit of that. So, wow, Async Awake and Black Elvis are here? That's crazy. Suzuna, welcome, welcome. Greetings, everyone. Okay, so here is the change that I started making. I started this just before the stream, so I've made a couple of changes, haven't even committed everything. But what I did is I pulled in a new NuGet package. I pulled in Moq as a mocking framework. I figure it should work well enough for us. I've used it in the past. The next thing that I did was I went and I set up the iClock interface, or I could have done iSystem clock, doesn't really matter. Previously we had been using a shim to get around this, but since I don't have Microsoft Fakes as a shim and we were running into some problems, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work around using a shim at this point, and we're going to go ahead and use an interface instead. So we'll do standard dependency inversion and inject this in that way. So I set up my system clock, and essentially this is just a class that wraps around date time. Now, if anybody doesn't know what that is, go ahead and let me know, and I will tell you essentially how that dependency inversion works. So the next thing I started working on to clean up our tests is I went to look at getting rid of the fakes that we've been using to switch them over to mocks. Now, there are circumstances where I do like fakes better than mocks. Some of those are where you just need a simple class, and the mocking framework is going to get messy. And I think we can do that as a one-off more than anything else. So, for example, we might do that for the fake clock. What I did right here is it's just a fake clock and it just has properties you set. I figured that's actually going to be easier than using a mock for this, but we'll see what we end up getting. Welcome, welcome everybody. Love to see all of the hype emotes in chat. Our Devcha Hype, the little dino emote. It is quite fun. He's quite excited, but his arms are too short to hold up the hype sign, so he's got his little grabbers there. And so what I did is this. I will go ahead and show you guys the quote command test process should. So process should inside of the quote command tests. So essentially, I set up a couple of mock objects at the beginning of this, the creation of this class, and then we have our little method here, setup test, and inside of this, we have it configured to, oh, that's funny. We had command word entities and we were returning them back in the fake that we were using before, but I programmed it so we wouldn't need it. That's hilarious. Okay, so I will show you guys what I changed here. So what we used to do is we used to have fake objects here that we would set up with these objects. So now I have a mock in place for these. And essentially the way the mock works is you can call a method setup, and when you do that, you basically say, when this gets called, run my code instead, and don't call this. So essentially I'm saying, when you attempt to call the iRepository's single method and you pass in a specification for a quote entity, instead return this one. And so that's basically what I set up to have happen, is each one of these tests just passes in the quote they want to have returned. So this one returns back just a sample test quote, but this other one returns back null. And so that's sort of how this is set up. Now this piece here is actually to get around what I would argue is potentially a bug in our alias system. I just kind of worked around that too, though. We'll get that fixed, and I'll explain what that bug was. So, oh, those aren't going to be able to run because of that. That's not a problem. Okay, so the alias system inside of our commands, just so you guys know how it works. We talked about it last time, but I'm going to re-show you guys how it works. Every base command object has a list of command words that it responds to. So this is just an ilist of string, and essentially this is going to be the things like the help command or the commands command. And I'll type a couple of those into chat. So commands is a base command, it has a commands command. But we could also type in cmd. And that's the same command, and it's just that inside of the commands command we have cmd as well as commands in this list of string. So the way that we get that list set, as you notice from the highlight here, is we call this refresh command words method. Now all this does is it just comes down here and it runs the repository and grabs all of the command words for the type that we're using. So in this case, the commands command is listed in the database, and we pull back all the objects associated with the commands command. So the change that I made is I got rid of this. I basically said if the database comes back with nothing, we're going to not have an error. So order by requires that you have a collection. It's actually how this method works. So I made it so that we don't need that anymore by just adding a null conditional here, and that's what this operator is called. What this does is it performs null propagation. It basically says if the argument to my if the portion of this to my left is null, so this part here, if that returns back null, it tells it to continue propagating that forward. So essentially we then get the default value of this, of whatever the type is that this was returning. And so basically then what we're going to do at the end of this is I'm saying if we somehow ended up with a null, just get us an empty list instead of having any kind of problem like that. So we'll have an empty list of command words if there were no command words returned from the database. So that does mean that if there's not one in the database, you cannot run the command. It will not work. Now this is the discussion that we can have at some point, because we might decide that we want to make it so that when you return back this set, that we can, if you got back none, that the default value put in here is going to come from the name of whatever command you're actually in. So we might grab the runtime type and fix that. So that is the idea. Let me put that operator back down here so that's all clear. Okay, so back to the way it was formatted, which is why we no longer need to pass in that set, because I don't really need to return it, because we don't care, because we're testing out the command itself, not checking to see whether the command responds to its command word. So having to deal with command words in the test is just a distraction, so we don't want to do that. So that's why we extracted that part out. Sorry about that. And the bot, I'm going to go ahead and stop it, just so that we can... Oops. So I went and stopped the bot off screen so that we can do a build successfully, because we are running the same bot that we're testing with here. So just want to make sure that all those file copies and everything happen the way we expect. So the next thing that I want to take a look at, so essentially I was trying to remove the fake repo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete it again. Oh, oops, actually let me, well, yeah, we won't worry about that. I just won't commit that one. So these tests all pass. I just checked them. So what I am going to do is I'm going to commit this as a change. Fix the base command to deal with null return. That might not be possible. I forget the repository might return back a an empty collection by default if it doesn't find any in the database. Not sure. And then this is... Oh, I'm not committing that one. Switch the quote test command process should to mocks. So we're going to commit that. And now, because I deleted our fake repository, any other tests that depend on the fake repository are suddenly going to be lit up because they're going to be failing. And what I am going to do is now do a, were we using this for anything, or were we just passing it in so we didn't break? The question is, could I get away with a null, or did we actually need something in there? So first off, one of the things I like to do is to check and see if I actually really need to pass in the object. Oh, whoops. Let's bring that back. So I leaned on my compiler to just see where that fake repo was being used. Technically, I could have just done a search for it. But what I want to do is, if there's an indicator that you can use, which is that if you're passing in a lot of nulls in your tests for various objects, it usually means that you've got more dependencies than you actually want to have. So it's one of the reasons I actually like passing in those null values, is it gives me a visual indication when I go to my tests and I see, oh, I passed in like 3 nulls to that thing. That tells me that I probably have some methods that don't belong on that object because my object is doing too many things. And that's how I end up with that. Okay, so that one was clearly doing something, because we probably null refed, right? Because it called it? Yep. Okay, that's fine. So what I'm going to do instead is make this a new mock of an iRepository, but I don't really need to do anything with this thing, so I'm just going to immediately get the object. Now what this does is, in your mocking framework, I don't know if there's anybody here that's not familiar with mocking frameworks, this basically creates a mock object of that type. So the mock lets me do things like expect things to happen and to verify that they happened. But then what I want to do is, when I need to pass in the object, I need to return one that is of that interface. The object property is an object of that interface, and that's how I can leverage it. So essentially it creates this special object, and that's sort of how this mocking framework works. They don't all work this same way, but this is how Moq works, which is the framework I decided to install. I've used this, I've used Rhino mocks, I've used plenty of other mocking frameworks. It's basically whatever your project determines that it's going to use, you can pretty much run with it, and they all work basically the same way. You just need to learn a little bit of different syntax. Okay, let's go take a look at our other one. So this should have had one other reference, which is over here. So we did get fake repo, and that is the list that we returned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a mock, and we're going to say var mock repo equals new mock iRepository. And so because this is already set up as a method that set up the collection that we're using, what I can do is I can say the exact same thing. I can say I want to set up the so that's the list to return when they call for a command word. And oh wait, hang on, I think we might not need this, because I just noticed it's returning back a list of command words. Command received handler should. Here's what I'm going to try to do. Instead of calling that method, I'm just going to attempt to shove in the mock. So I'm going to say mock.object, because I think my other change may have fixed this, so we don't need it anymore, and we no longer need the fake repository at all. I think might be the scenario we're in. But give me 1 second to find out, everybody. So this is how you usually want to do these things, is give them a try, run your tests again. If they pass, awesome. If they don't, then figure out why and fix it. So it makes it nice and easy to clean up all your tests and everything. And we have a game of rock, paper, scissors going on. So So if you do want to hop in a game of rock, paper, scissors, you can go ahead and type that in chat, and you will be in it. Call process on command. Oh, yep, okay. Sequence contains no elements. Alright, so we actually do need this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this back. We're going to put it in here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say mock repo dot setup, and we are going to say that when the list method is called. Now, we're doing this because I know that the way that we're going to be getting back a list of these entities is that someone's going to call the list method on this, and they're going to pass in a specification. So what I'm going to say is it is any I specification, and actually, what is it? It's a command word policy. So they're going to pass in a command word policy. I don't care which one they use. I'm pretty sure it's a type one, but I don't need to worry about that. And then what I want to say is I want to say that it returns back this collection. So that lets me jump to there. And once I do that, now I can just say return back our mock repo dot object. So that was complaining because the mock knows that the return value of that list type that I had there is a list of command word entity, and it wanted to make sure that that was actually the type it was getting. So this looks messy right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract this into its own variable just to give this a little bit of clarity. So now you'll see that what I do is I set up this collection of data that we want to return back. And essentially what we're saying now is that we're going to run that piece. So we're basically saying when you call the list method, return back that set of data. Let's go ahead and run all our tests and see what we get. Whoops. I am assuming I did not actually, yep. I did not actually call the method. And we're going to do the same thing here. And we're going to rename that method because it currently says return back a fake. And we don't want to return back a fake. We want to return back a mock of the object. But really, we don't care about that because that's an implementation detail. So we're going to say get test repository. Excuse me. Hello, Swifty Spiffy. Welcome. Okay, so we've pulled that out. We switched that one from the fake to the mock, and that's a little bit nicer. And we'll keep pulling more of these out. So this is a nice way of cleaning this. Sazuna and Swifty Spiffy. It'll be a fun one. Alright, so all of our tests are passing, so this is removing the fake repository, which actually I'm going to nuke now, because I think it can actually legit just go away. Okay, good. So, remove fake repository, which we actually just called fake repo. Good job, me, or whoever did that one. Swifty and Sazuna, do you actually know each other? Like, you know, IRL? Based on that comment? Okay. So, fake command, I do actually think that we want to have this one, because this is an actual implementation of an abstract base class, our base command that we have here. So, we're going to keep this one. I am going to do a little bit of cleanup while we're here, because we did not need that using at the top. Okay. Okay. Makes sense, makes sense. So the other thing that I want to get rid of, I made a couple of automated message, a never ready message and an always ready message, because I was like, those are kind of convenient and easy to use, but I think we want to replace them with Moq, so I'm going to get rid of my always ready message temporarily and go get rid of it. So the always ready message is going to go in there, and actually what we're going to do is we are going to mock out the message that this is supposed to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace that with null and create the object right here. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to change this type right here. We're going to make this a mock of the type we just specified. We're going to say new mock of that object. And then we're going to say .object. So now the problem that we have is that we're not returning back true. So we need to say setup, and we're going to say the one advantage that the previous one had is that we didn't have to do any setup to just do the always ready message. We could just use an always ready message and a never ready message, and they would be always ready and never ready. So that's one advantage to having the fake, and we could just do that if we wanted to. So actually, you know what? We're going to keep that one. Let's just back up. We're going to keep the always ready message. I think that that's not going to be too bad. Chuke, welcome. Thank you for following. So we're going to keep that. The chat client, we probably don't need, though, because that one's going to be getting called. There it is. So I'm going to call this Moq Chat Client. I am going to initialize a new mock of iChat Client. So importing that. And so then when we get to this point and need to use it, we're going to say object, and then down here, so previously you'd seen me do a setup, but now we want to do a verify. Moq chat client dot verify, and this verifies that this happened. So this is saying that I want to verify that someone called send message, and that when they called it, the message was hello. And that is basically what that was testing before. So I'm going to replace these, and that's our static response. So we want to verify that that was called, essentially. And that's sort of what we're writing. Yeah. So let's go ahead and pull this same thing down here. So instead of the fake chat client, we're going to use the mock chat client. Again, we're going to go ahead and we're going to say .object on that. And instead of checking that the sent message was down here, we are going to verify that send message was called. Okay. Now you might be wondering, up here I reused this variable in both places, but down here I'm not. Now the reason for that is that these strings aren't going to match, and I don't want to just write code that makes, that process happen. So we're sort of left with a balance here. We can choose either to bind ourselves closer to the implementation where we're having to write that in, which we sort of do because we've said that this is how that replacement happens, that it comes in, with whatever the display name was, which is expected. Or we could write code, and thus we get into the problem of, do we need to start testing our test? Because our test is doing stuff now. And so that's part of the reason why you want to try to avoid doing too much in there, because anything you do in your test, you really technically should be testing. So now before we get to this, so I had commented, I had nuked that object, but I don't really want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow it to build again, just so I can run our tests. And then what we're going to do once the tests all run is we are going to jump to the next one. So let's take a look at the next spot where fake chat client was used. So I'm just going to jump over here. Fake chat client needs to get replaced by our mock. So since this was just putting this in here, it makes me suspect that we were not actually testing the value that got set here, so I think we can probably just put the mock in instead. So I'm going to say a new mock of iChat client, and just take a chance here, and just immediately put in the object. Because it seems like we're not really using it, because the previous object was doing the same trick of just passing it in like that. So we'll see what we get. And looks like this was a fake chat client also. But again, since it was just put in directly, it makes me feel like they were not really being used, because no one was doing anything to expect their values anyway. Let's go ahead and run all the tests again. And this is basically how you just want to do this when you switch. Now, the reason I start with fakes, as I mentioned before, is there's no cost to really just starting with a fake object. It's a class that exists in a place, and you don't have to deal with setting up a mocking framework for it. And fake clock, never any message. I'm actually good with that set of fakes. Those fakes all look like ones that I would want to keep around in the project. So we replaced fake chat client with mocks. And that ought to cover that. So, the next thing that I wanted to take a look at is a bit of refactoring in the project. And I figured I'd do that on stream, so that if there's anybody that is working on a pull request or anything like that, they can murder me live on stream for changing things out from under them. But at bare minimum, they can watch this video and see what we change. So that's actually my way of making it nice, is, hey, there's a video of what we did so you can see it. Okay, so adding Moq Mocking. So, before we actually bring that in, what I am going to do is this. I am going to restart the bot, and this is going to let us confirm that it does seem to be working still. So we're going to go ahead and say commands. We're going to go ahead and say quote. I swear it's not rigged. And we can start up games. Oh, yes, no problem, Async Awake. Those have actually been scheduled to go up on YouTube. So for those of you that don't know, we do have a YouTube channel. Should be linked down below. And actually, that's a good point. We're going to have archives of our videos going up there. Geez, Arid Tag, that'd be so evil if that were the word. Got it. Got it. I won Hangman. Okay, I will get you guys the link to that. As it really is on our channel page, I believe. But I'm realizing that should be a command that the bot can respond to. Did I not link our YouTube channel? Ah, yes I did. Hey, Kid Fundamentals, how's it going? Alright, so here's what we're going to do. And so you guys can see my typing. So I want to get help on the add command command. So, in order to get help from this, I need to type, the help add command. So then I want to do add command, and then the command I want to add is, well, actually, let me just confirm. I don't have a YouTube command, do I? Nope. So add command, YouTube, and it's going to respond with check out archives, our videos on YouTube. And we want to allow everyone access to that. So now anyone can just say YouTube and they get that back. Thank you for immediately testing that, Malachi. Good job. That was quick. And actually, the other neat thing that I can do now is I can actually immediately alias that command, I think. Can I? Ooh, that's a good question. Can I alias one of those right now? Simple commands? I forget if we enabled that. I'm not going to mess with it just yet. So there is our YouTube command, and it spits that back. And I believe that's the right link. Yep. So we've got a couple of videos have gone up on there. Those are just starting to hit that. I've got a handful scheduled, so expect to see more. We're going to put basically all our archives up there. They'll be fairly unedited, and I am planning on putting links in them to let you know when the video starts, because as you guys know, with a live stream, I usually have a few minutes of buffer at the beginning while I'm setting up the last couple of things, and there's just music playing for your enjoyment. Now, I don't want to get rid of the music at the beginning of those videos, because I do like having it on there. But what that means is I'll probably have a link to where the actual stream starts on each one of those videos, so you can jump straight to it. Okay, let me jump over to this, and in here, we set that up. Our bot is running, we just confirmed that, so I'm going to merge this in, because it passed all of our required checks, and I can then bring it in. So we've merged in that change. The other thing that I want to work on is I want to there's a couple of commands I want to fix up. There's a lot of refactoring that I want to do and a lot of cleanup. But let's jump over to the add command because I kind of feel like the commands command should just have like a commands and then commands.add, for example. Something like that. I don't feel like add command should be its own command. But that's just me. So what that tells me is that I want to jump over to that is hilarious, Kid Fundamentals. They interrupted your TV show for Mark Zuckerberg Facebook privacy thing. That's, I mean, I guess it's a big news story, but that's kind of annoying when it covers things up. What country are you in, Kid Fundamentals? Where you would run into that? Yeah, yeah, exactly. But you keep in mind that even when we get rid of that, we're going to have the command. Like, no matter what, we're going to have a command because it's the command for managing commands. Okay, I was just wondering because it seems weird because in the U.S. it's the middle of the day. Like, there's no part of the United States where this is like outside of work hours, so it seems strange that they would have that, like, a program interrupting news story for that. Oh, the add command. I'm going to totally add that in. Let's do a couple of things. So first off, I'm going to make a folder here temporarily because I'm going to call it foo for now, because get these things out of my face. command usage tracker, command tracker, command list, command thing. These aren't commands. Move them, please. Thank you. Uptime, streams, simple command, shout out command, remove command, bot command. Yeah, so commands, and these are like, this is like meta stuff. Yeah, no, we don't need to go deeper on that. Oh, actually. Hello, Just Fanta. Welcome. What? Why didn't that help? Oh, I don't have help on that. Okay. Oh, in that case, Kid Fundamentals, you're in my time zone, so awesome. Alright, so these are like the meta, these are like the actual like objects. As a command usage tracker. Command settings, command usage. Alright, so here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking these don't live here. I'm thinking these live over here somewhere. So the first thing that I want to do here is I want to make a folder for Ventarg types. Event.args. Let's get these things out of here, because they're cluttering this up. So some of this is just declutter, so someone's going to shoot me because I moved all these files on them. Okay. We're going to leave that as foo for now because we know we don't want foo. I have actually worked with CQRS before, Malachi. It's been a while, but I have, yes. Command query response. I have absolutely worked with that. The food bar. Just trying to figure out what to do with these. If you guys have ideas on names, I would not complain, because I'm trying to figure out what to call those. Janiscu. Very nice, very nice. The Heist Food Bar. What to call these? These are... I want to know what this foo is, and where I should, what are these things? What do command list and, this is almost like commands.meta, although I would almost argue that the meta commands means the command command. Yeah. Good question. Figuring out where these things live. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to nest everything further. So we called that commands plural. Yes, Malachi, I know. Non-native English speakers, I have a lot more English words to work with, and that is part of the problem is, like, once we got into the point where we're like, the internet and writing code and programming and everything like that, basically everybody needed to be speaking the same language, so it kind of sucks for non-native English speakers. I feel bad, because programming pretty much ended up de facto being in English. The one reprieve there is that, at least for Europeans, English has connections to basically all the other languages. There are bits of Germanic languages, bits of Romance languages. It's, yeah. Yes, Malachi, you pretty much need a thesaurus to be able to figure most of this stuff out. Trackers. Trackers, there we go. Not the worst thing in the world. And I kind of want to call, I almost want to take out the other commands and put them inside of a base folder, but I don't like the fact that we're then going to have an additional using statement at the top of each one of those for that. So, meh. We'll see. Command user dot trackers. So now that can live there, and then when I jump back to this one, trackers, no longer need that one. Something's gonna break because it didn't transfer over this one, probably. No, they shouldn't, because everything's referencing the interface now, so that's actually a little nicer. And this is gonna fail because the bot's running. But that's fine, I will kill that. It's just gonna fail because it can't copy is all. The build should pass, which it did. So we're gonna run the bot again. It'll say hello when it gets in chat. Okay, so that was a quick little restructure there. I think I got all those types fixed. And then the other change I made was down here. I moved these event arguments. So essentially, in these, so the command alias changed to Ventargs. Do these even get used? I'm not sure these get used. I don't think we ended up using them, because I'm fairly certain, since they didn't reference anything, that JD decided and JD decided to just go with a regular Ventargs. As I mentioned, losing my voice a little bit. I was sick for a little bit, so you know how those things go. No, please don't open the thing. Stop. Resharper, you have failed me. Please die. Let's see. Quote add. What is it? It's add quote. Add quote. Resharper, please die. What did I say? You failed me? messed that up. Whoops. That's not a problem. I'm not worried about it. So that moved. Let's move this one. It's going to have a similar problem, probably. No. Okay, good. New subscriber should be an easy one. And actually, subscriber specifically is another thing I want to do in a little bit of code cleanup that I want to get to probably today. Essentially, the idea is that I think for detecting new subscribers, we are using our iChat client interface, and that doesn't make any sense. Obviously, what does a chat client have to do with getting a subscriber on a Twitch stream? And the idea is that I think we moved it somewhere else, so I want to figure out how we wrapped it. I don't remember exactly, but I know there's a little bit of weirdness with that, and I want to pull that out and get it fixed. I'm just scanning through those, just make sure that that's all they are. So move some classes around. And the branch we're going to put this in, I need to fetch this, and we're going to new branch. This branch is going to be code clean up. Publish the branch, and then as soon as that is published, so the reason why I really love having a GUI client for being on stream is, so the majority of the time when I'm doing anything with Git, I'm in the command line, but on stream, there's this thing called Stream Brain, which is where you forget simple things like the commands for stuff. And so I can click this button, and it will take my branch and automatically set the upstream to the location that I want it to be at GitHub, and I don't have to remember anything about setting that up, or like, you know, what's the parameter that I pass to the push command to set that up, right? I don't have to do any of that. It just wires that up and makes it work. Okay, so that was the simple part there. The next thing that I want to take a look at is the commands that we were using. So first off, I noticed a problem with the quote command, and that is, if you read our help, no, not our quote command, our add quote command, if you read our help text here, you'll notice that we suggested doing this. And that makes no sense at all, because that's not what it is. It should be add quote, because that's what the command is. Now here's what I want to change. I am thinking that we can get the default command for this. So this is some code that JD wrote for us that we will find referenced in our setup, I believe, for our database, or setup bot down here. Probably in the setup database, actually. So setup database, there it is. So inside of here, you'll notice that what we do is we create the default command word for each one of these objects. Now when we do this, we are going from the concrete commands, so essentially we are getting all the abstract classes that are not data entities, which means not the ones we're storing in the database. Because the ones we're storing in the database are going to store their command word. So essentially these are just going to be the base commands. So hilariously, I think we could probably get away with just making it the base commands instead of checking this one. We could just make sure that it is a subclass of base command, because I think that actually covers everything right now, which is kind of funny. And essentially then, instead of being an IEnumerable of... oh, and technically these are command types. These are concrete command types. So I'm going to fix that name just for a little bit of clarity so that someone that looks at this code can figure out what that is. So then for each command type, make a new command word entity and pull that off of it. Alternately, we could call a static method on those types if one existed, but that'd be weird. So I was hoping to leverage this code to be able to go, hey, yeah, give me all the objects of these types and make it give me the thing. When is setup database called? So I want to take a look at when this is set up, when this is actually called. So inside a setup bot, we set up the database first. Then we create it, and then we register all the types. Okay, so I can't get away with that. All right, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to set up base command to be able to do it anyway. So base command is going to get a new feature, and that is going to be its default command name. So we have primary command text, which is that one, but then I want to get default command word. So on this one, what we're going to do is we're going to say, ooh, how do we get this? All right, I'm going to test this. There's going to be no way to do this other than testing this thing, and it's going to get interesting. So we're going to do base command tests, which we don't have yet, sadly. What is this going to be called? Default command. Very good point, Janiscu. Add quotes, quote. Whoops, other way. Alias add quote, quotes. There you go, Janiscu. That should fix it for you. Malachi, quit trying to break stuff. I was just kidding. You're allowed to try to break stuff if you want. I mean, as long as you're not being malicious about it. That'd be annoying. Only lame people would be malicious about it. Unless you're just trying to find stuff, you could do that. Malachi, if you want help with those. Okay, so here's what I want to do. Fake command. So we're going to call the fake command. And, oh, it takes a repo, which it'll be null and true. Fake command inherits from base command, I believe. Which actually, I'm not sure I want to use the fake one here. So we'll say default word command. So public class default word command base command. And the reason I want to do this is because it's very specific to this exact test. So I'm actually going to move this into our test class. So this is going to be actually part of that class. Which, for anybody that's new to C#, that basically means that it's now the default command word should.default word command. Yeah, appreciate it, Malachi. I can't decide if I want to spend my free time on Haskell or C#/.NET Core. Malachi, I have absolutely no bias in saying C# and .NET Core is a great language. Definitely no bias. None at all. Yes, arid tag. Good. Good suggestion. So we're calling this default command word. Okay. String command word equals that. And then I'm going to say command word should... What? Didn't I, Didn't I pull in the Fluent API, guys? Did I never grab Fluent API? I swear I grabbed Fluent API. The Fluent assertions, did I not grab that? How did I never grab Fluent assertions for this? You guys seriously been letting me write this code for this long without having Fluent assertions? Wow, that's crazy. What did we say this should be? Should be default word. Okay. This is not going to be a fake command. This is going to be a default word command. Let's just say that that's everyone. We don't need that. And this is just going to pass in a fake repository there, I guess. And since I'm supposed to have both constructors, we'll just do this. A new fake, no, it's going to be a new mock I repository and .object. So that'll get us that, and then we're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to pass in those same variables right there. So we now match with what it's expecting, and we need to have that value. So I'm not going to pass in anything in the constructor. Now we need to have a property that exists on base command that is default command word. And default command word is going to be super special. We are going to write this as a getter only expression bodied property that will pull this value for us based on the type. For now, I am going to make it return back foo. Why foo? Well, why not foo? Kid fundamentals, that is absolutely correct. Sometimes you're just playing around with stuff inside of a unit test, and that's how you get things going. You're all welcome. I clicked the mute button before I coughed a bunch. Wasn't that nice of me? Let's see. And I'm sure you all love the name Test 1. It's fantastic and tells you exactly what we're looking for. But don't worry about that yet. Why is the test runner doing stuff when I didn't tell it to do stuff? Visual Studio, are you broken? Sorry, I just wanted to make an angry face at Visual Studio there for a second. Because of whatever this is. What's it doing? Why is it running? You forgot the name. It's called a Stream Deck. So it's kind of fun because I can do stuff like this. I've got an idea. And, you know, things like this. That last part was important. Alright, so I'm not sure why that's still running. I'm going to go ahead and nuke this thing and restart it. And by nuke this thing, I mean Visual Studio. Oh, yeah, there's the one I wanted. The no peeking one. I clicked the wrong one. And then let me go ahead and get things running again. So it's actually really nice. There's a lot of features that I want to mess with on it, Malachi, that I still need to configure. But it's not bad. Ooh. I just noticed that I have an update available, 15.6.6. I'm wondering what's in that one. Alright, I will need to take a look at that, because that is out now. Alright, let's go ahead and run these tests, just see how they work. Hopefully the tests are passing, since they were a minute ago. Whoop. Oh, no wait, this one, yeah. Right, this one that we just wrote that we know doesn't work, yeah. Yeah, Kid Fundamentals, isn't it the best? Let's just go ahead and everybody just say, I like Visual Studio because it never crashes on me or causes any problems. Oh, wait. Alright, so we want that to return back this. So, we do know what our test is now. Return first part of class name given no, there's no given. It's just that's what we wanted to do. Who am I kidding? Malachi, I've actually worked with Xcode before. This will come as a surprise to a lot of you, as I'm a former Microsoft MVP. I'm an ASP insider. I was actually Silverlight insider. I've been to Microsoft dozens of times. I worked on Azure when Azure was just a console application that I literally ran on my computer. It looked a little bit like our chatbot, to be honest, when I first started using Azure. And me, this guy that's that connected to Microsoft, used to be like a Linux guy and a Mac guy. I used to actually maintain Mac servers. I installed my Linux from source. I ran Gentoo Linux. Yeah, that's absurd, isn't it? That, you know, I can switch from one camp to the other that crazily. But people find that hard to believe. Malachi, basically you just stop doing stuff for them. That's pretty much it. Like, I was not doing any articles or talks or anything on ASP.NET, and specifically I was an ASP.NET MVP. So that's when there was a separate distinction on all those groups. So I did still do stuff for other areas of Microsoft, but I stopped doing it for that one. So they actually used to budget by department. And I was not surprised at all. In fact, I actually held my MVP award for a year longer than I expected to be honest. Let's see, this .getType.name. Now what I'm going to do is I want to take a look at the setup database code. Because very likely I am going to steal from that. Because it probably did this already. So there's the command word. So we're literally saying that that's the way that that is a way that we can do it. Whether this is the nicest way is quite another story. So we could repeatedly just get the type like that. And then convention suffix would be that. Okay. What happens if we do this? Maybe we should just look for the word command on the end. Substring that, and then why don't I say, at minimum I could do this, like index of, last index of the string command. We could, yeah. All right. Questions in chat. Oh, that's true, Async Awake. I did lead a lot of people off of a cliff. His VS is probably unstable because of resharper. And yes, JetBrains now says, just run writer. Yes. That is actually one of the weird points, always in the past. Like, it really surprised me that JetBrains went and made writer. But if you guys like, I can run writer. I have that installed also. It's not a recent version of it, I don't think, but it is on here. So... Hey, test is passing now. Okay, so that test works. We're expecting default word. And then the question is, can I do the same thing for another one? Two. This is going to be a fake command. Null. True. We'll see if it breaks. It might. Gonna run that again. Alright. Yeah, see? Writer. Right here. An old version, I'm sure, because I don't run it, so... JD Phoenix, hey, how's it going? Suzuno, you tried... you're too used to VS navigation and UI. Yeah, oh, that's a good point, Malachi. That it might be easier if you work with both Java and C#. I have had to work with... Android before, and when you do that, if you're used to Android Studio, there might be some crossover there because that is very similar. So probably if you do Android development, Writer would be an easier transition as well. I could see it. Oh, and anyone that didn't yet, make sure you go to that tweet and like and retweet that thing. That is yelling at John Skeet to come on Dev Chatter. I do wonder if we can convince him to show up on here. I think it'd be fun. One of your friends needs to be banned from coding. She programs in Java and wrote a program that finds makeup sales and deals and reports them back to her. Oh, that is hilarious. I don't know why you'd be upset about that. Yeah. And if Saduki were here, she would laugh because she programs in Java and C#. Used IntelliJ a few years ago because you had Java at the university. Yeah, so Suzuno, the thing that's really going to throw you off is I have been using... and thank you for the retweet, whoever did that one. I have been using ReSharper so long that I actually use the old IntelliJ keyboard shortcuts, which throws everyone off, because I kind of got used to those ones, and I thought about transitioning at some point, but I still use the old ones, so that's actually how that one works, which is kind of funny. Okay, so looks like that code does work. The question is, can I... set up something that'll get me these two. Yeah, so the funny thing is, Kid Fundamentals, is that we write code for all kinds of useful things, so being able to program just lets you manipulate anything you want, find out whatever information you want, do whatever you need to do. and Xamarin. So I did a little bit of work with Xamarin in the past, and when I was using it, I will point out I have not shipped an application using Xamarin. In fact, we ran into some issues where Xamarin wasn't going to work with the other third-party libraries that we needed to use. So we did native for Android and iOS at the company that I was working with. So we abandoned the Xamarin approach, figuring... so we had people already that knew how to do iOS and people that knew how to do, roughly speaking, Android, because we had a bunch of people that knew Java or C#, and we're like, okay, so Java and C# guys, you're going to build Android, and Apple guys, you'll do iOS, and we'll scrap the Xamarin project. Originally, it was going to be a conglomeration of people that knew Java, C# and Objective-C/Switch that were all building in Xamarin, figuring that's a nice way that they could collaborate, and they all sort of know their own environments and build the same thing, but we split instead of working together because we ran into problems with some third-party libraries that we wanted to still be able to use. Okay, so that gets us our default command word, which I think tests that nicely, but I don't like the fact that I named that 2. Probably no one else does either. I haven't had to write C++ in a long time. It's a very good and useful language for a lot of things. What it's not good and useful for is writing business applications. Like, it can be, but for most of the types of stuff that we work on, you really don't want to be using that one. Most of what we write is, the type of application where you should be, writing it in like C#, in Java, in Python, Ruby, JavaScript, one of these higher level languages. C++ should not be the primary language for building user interaction on a lot of things. That's not to say that, I couldn't write a C# application that used a C++ library that my company maintained, because that's also very useful. Okay. So I don't actually... Oh, right. I was going to say, I don't remember why I was doing this one, but now I do. The add quote command. So right here, in our help text, I want to be able to do this for now. I wanted to be able to say default command word, but I realize now upon writing this that I could say primary command text instead. So example usage, primary command text, this is the quote, and at Brandonius. There we go. So now I actually want to go adjust my test because I want to change it to be something different than what I originally created. So let's change how this works. So I called this write on base command. Well, I kind of want to make this static. Now, what I'm not sure is, when I'm can I get the type from a static method? Can you get the class you're in from within a static method? Anybody know that? That's a really weird concept that I'm just thinking about. Get type within get C# get self from static method. I don't know. You can. Okay, cool. Fantastic. Hey, thank you guys. Yeah, see? Google found it at about the same time. So method base, get current method, declaring type name. So Malachi, you're someone that wants to have static typing. Yeah, so the progressive web apps are starting to move forward. The thing that kills me on all of those approaches is that it's difficult when you're not running native because you can potentially run into a lot of problems, but at the same time, there are so many benefits to doing it that way. So I suspect that the progressive web app is going to be the future, but we'll see. Alright, so in theory, this test should still work, but I no longer need to create an instance. I can now just call that method right on the type. Ooh, what's it gonna do? You'd pass the concrete type as a generic argument to the base command. Yeah, Conrad. I'm going to run this and see what we get. I think I might get base command back, which is going to be a problem. However, there might be a way around that, and you're right. It could be that we pass the type in as an argument to that. Yeah, because it's on this. It's not really on the individual one. Declaring type. Yeah, so because we did it from method base, which is in system.reflection. Reflection. What else is on here? It's a good question. Weird. Yes, exactly. I can make it a method. The Triz, thanks for following. Hopefully this is an interesting problem we're trying to solve here. So here's what I was thinking. Is there some way that we could get the calling data in this? So you're right, we could pass in the type, but that seems weird that it would be on base command then. Because it would feel like it would live somewhere else then. Because I like that you don't pass it any parameter. So I feel like this should be the calling you know what I mean? So alright, so system runtime compiler services. So here's what I want to look at. System.runtime.compiler services. I want to see what's inside this namespace. And I hope someone realizes the craziness that I'm talking about here. A dynamic call site base class. This is the type right now. Default dependency attribute fixed buffer at. Let's see. I don't want the method or property name. I think the code emitted from those is the same thing. Yeah, I think it is going to be the same, so we might not be able to distinguish then, which sucks. I'd like to do it off the type. Alright, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stash this for now. We're going to come back to this one. We're trying to figure out how to get this piece doing what we want it to do. We want to make it so that we can get a couple of tests set up here. That one is okay, so hang on. I'm going to commit this fix quote fix add quote help text. And then I am going to stash the rest of this. And I will make sure you guys can see what I'm doing here. CD and on screen CD dev chatter bot. And then we're going to stash that. Yeah, basically Magnus, but we were trying to do it from the static, and so that's the weird part. I want to do it from a static method so I don't actually need an instance. So I went ahead and stashed that change. We'll come back to it. I do still want to do that because the reason I'm going that route is because I want to make it be able to do that in another spot. We might just have to make the code live somewhere else. So, and yeah, Conrad, I think you're right. I think the compiler's basically getting rid of that at compile time and treating that as if I called the base command, even though I'm able to type it still that way. We can't get away with that, Magnus, because each one would have to pass it in. So if I want to take a parameter, then I might as well just put it somewhere not on the base command at all. So there's no value to it if I go that route. So here's the next change that I want to make in terms of cleaning this up. So we have our add quote command. We have our quote command, and then we have our, whoops, oh, we don't have a remove quote command. Either way, what I want to do is make it so that add quote is as an option on the quote command. So right now, the only operator that you can pass to this is a number. So we check to see if you passed in a number. So argument 1, we grab, and then we say, which actually I'm going to say element at or default and say 0 to get argument 1. And then this will be argument 2. Whoops. Argument 2 is going to be right there. Yes, arid tag, you can pass in negatives, but there won't be a quote at that number, so have fun. And yes, I know I could do like uints, but man, I tell you, whenever you start going down that rabbit hole, you end up having to deal with them everywhere. It's a big pain in the rear. Okay, so if argument 1's not null, then we are going to do something with it. So, I apologize, guys. I am going to write it for now. We're going to fix it later. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Don't panic. Don't panic. We're not keeping a break. We're not keeping up a switch statement forever. And it's not going to live forever. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm sure they do, Conrad. It's a big pain in the rear to use an unsigned type in .NET. They really ought to tell you not to do it, because if you do it, you're probably crazy. Okay. So, our cases are, this could be null, could be add or default. Inside of default is okay, so null is the case where they didn't include a parameter. This is the one where we assume that it was an integer. And then add is when we do an add command. So, inside of here, text and author. So actually, we need 3 arguments then. So we'll call this quote text, and this is author. Okay. Inside of add, we're going to say add new quote. And we're going to add it, passing in the chat client. We're going to pass in quote text. We're going to pass in the author. But in addition to that, we need to pass in one more thing. You'll notice we need the chat user off of that as well. So we're going to say a ventargs.chatUser as our third one. So chat client, quote text, author, and chat user. So now in here, oh yeah, I think that works now, actually. I don't think we need this anymore. You gotta love that hack that we had in there. There's a problem with the in-memory EF core database. And yes, C# will have record types soon, finally. Funny enough, they almost did default constructors like multiple times, and they're finally gonna put in now the record type, which is very cool. Okay, so add new quote. So what we need is chat user. We're gonna say if chat user can run command, and we are gonna say user role dot mod. They need to be able to get mod access, and if not, we are going to chat client please ask a moderator to add this quote, and then we're gonna say chat user dot display name. Please ask a moderator to add this quote. Okay. So, and then we're going to return. And then the quote author is author. And then that should be fine. The quote command, I realize, needs help text. Oh, the bot's not running. I am terribly sorry, guys. I will fix that. Sorry, Malachi. Whoops. Hang on while I fix my build error, because I forgot a semicolon somewhere. Right there where I was writing, of course. Hang on, Malachi. Hang on. I will let you know the uptime in a second. As soon as it's in here. Takes a little while because it has to connect. Oh, dang it. Alright. Nope. Yeah. Alright, so that is actually a problem. There's an undocumented feature in... Oh, is it not this one? Maybe I'm blowing up somewhere else. I assumed that was a different one. But no, this is looking up something. This is the... yeah. Seriously, it's gonna blow up on me? That's irritating. I have to go track this one down. See if it bombs this time. No, it didn't. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that's the undocumented API that we're calling in Twitch to get the list of people who are in the chat at any given time. Malachi, yeah, we have autofac on here right now. So there's the uptime. Okay. So let's put back in help text, and we're gonna say for our help text, it's a good set of help text. Actually, I liked the format that JD Phoenix used for the one that he put in for Alias. I thought that was nice. So let's actually head over to the Alias command. What was the reason not to use the built-in DI? Just that the person that offered to set up our DI seemed familiar with autofac, and they're basically all the same. So we could easily swap out autofac for any DI container pretty easily. It's all... So ideally, whatever DI container we use is relegated to be in like one spot and one spot only. And we can use whichever one we want as long as we keep it right there. So Malachi, it's mostly just a whatever one you're familiar with, you can just use. I'm just going to steal this for now, copy pasta, and then fix up over here. So I'm actually going to say use quote add existing, and actually I don't want to do that. I want to do this. So I want to make this string interpolated because I want to say primary command text add, and then existing. We don't want to do that. We want to say quote here, and then this is author. To add a new to add a quote. Or this is primary. Delete. We don't have that one, so we won't worry about that one. So I will say we're going to start it this way. Use that to get a random quote. Number to get a specific quote, or mod a moderator may use add quote here to add a quote. For example, primary command text add Brandonius creates a new quote. Okay. So now what I want to do is split this up. So we're going to say plus $, begin another quote, and then down towards the end of this line, I'm going to break it again. And then that one, it looks like, didn't need a $. So, let's get those lined up. There we go. Alright, so that's not bad. And I hope that answered your question, Malachi. VFRZ, hello, welcome. Hopefully you are here for the C# codes. Okay. So I think that's probably going to work there. Let's go ahead and stop the bot, exit, and I'm going to run it again. So we're going to go ahead and get it going, and let's see how this works. Fantastic. Oh, son of, is it the stupid thing again? So we call an undocumented yes, service is unavailable. So we call an undocumented part of the Twitch API in order to get this to work. It throws errors more frequently than we'd like. And essentially what it does is when we're initializing our bot, one of the first things we do is we ask Twitch, who's in the chat room right now? And then that feature, who's in the chat room, that is an undocumented feature from the Twitch API. It's not an official part of it, but they do have that piece. So it is just crazy to me that that's an undocumented piece. Like, what do you mean you don't just have a way of telling who is in chat right now? That seems crazy. So, but, whatever, what are you going to do? Quote. I wouldn't actually do something horrible. Let's say help quote. Oh, yeah, arid tag. We can totally wrap a try catch around it. What I'd actually recommend while you're messing with Discord is turn off the Twitch connection. So basically, I would just, while you're building Discord, disable all the Twitch stuff so you're only connecting to one. Use quote to get a random quote. Use quote number to get a, huh? Get a specific quote. Or a moderator may use quote add, quote here, author, to add a quote. For example, whoops, that bottom one needs a $sign too. There we go, primary command text. Oh, what a day, what a lovely day. Yes, exactly, JD Phoenix. So one of the issues that we've actually had in our backlog for a while, that thankfully JD Phoenix did notice, and is the one messing with this, so it's important that JD Phoenix noticed this. You may have noticed that I have this old issue in here that is each module should wire itself up. So essentially the idea is that all the pieces related to Twitch should get excuse me, should get registered together. All pieces related to Discord should get registered together. So different pieces like that should wire up separately so that we don't just have one big section, which makes it easy to turn off Twitch while we build Discord. And that is part of the reason to get that distinction in there. So VFRZ, the answer to your question is yes. All of the projects I am currently working on, and in fact, even my previous clients, we were using .NET Core. So I have been using .NET Core in production for well over a year. Because VS 2017 came out in March of last year, so yeah, so quite a while. It's very good. I am a huge fan of .NET Core. And actually, was I using .NET Core? Might have been. Yes. And yeah, so clean up dependency injection basically means get some stuff cleaned up. But if you do it in a nice way and break it off into modules, then you get them together. So, welcome VFRZ, thank you for following. So that's how those pieces work. So I believe now, let's go ahead and test this, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and do a quote add here. So I'll let you guys see what I typed down here, which is going to get covered over by the chat things. So we'll move it all the way onto there. And we're going to go ahead and say quote add. So this is the new way of doing it. We're going to say, gosh, I sure hope this works. I sure hope this works. And I said that right now. Gosh, I sure hope this works. Hey! Also, Tuki, thanks for following. And yeah, you can see the notifications that I see over here inside of Streamlabs. So that is working nicely. That did exactly what we wanted. The cool thing about that is it means that we can now basically get rid of the add quote command. We essentially no longer need it. Oh, and actually I should do this, shouldn't I? Yeah, that's it created quote number 9. Yeah, never mind. We did it. I had that included. So quote command created quote number 9. Cool. All right. Goodbye, add quote command. You are now dead to the world. No one cares about you anymore. So very cool, very cool. That is working nicely. Code cleanup. So now we have that essentially got merged into this one. Handle adding quotes in quote command. Alright, let's push those up. And now the next thing that I want to take a look at is the commands command dealing with adding and removing commands. Which actually could be a weird one. So right now, we're not actually looking for the commands command to have any parameters at all. So we want to do the same thing. Now, the reason I'm setting this up this way, everybody, you'll probably notice that by doing this, I'm going to have add, delete as this common pattern. So once we have this set up, you're going to realize I've got some duplicate code, and it's going to be obvious, oh, that's the duplicate code that we need to extract out. So I'm not going to get to it today. However, we are going to be looking to see essentially which features we can yank out of this. Because I am expecting that that we're going to be able to yank out the concept of an operator on one of our commands and get that reusable across multiple commands. So the idea of adding and removing quotes, adding and removing commands, adding and removing anything else. So whether that be like we want to change who's a regular, so that the bot can treat you differently without having you either be a follower or a subscriber or anything like that. VFRZ, yeah, I think I am. Why do you ask? So switch argument 1. There we go. Case and that. Break and a default and a break. So now what I want to have is add and delete. Oh, and I realize I should be case insensitive on that, shouldn't I? I really should be. I'm not yet. So what I'm going to do is the add command. We're going to call a method called add command. It's going to take in the chat client, because we basically need to have the chat client. It's going to be an iChat client, chat client. We're going to pass in chat client. And then we need to pass in argument 2, which is going to be the, and we need 3 as well. So this would be, so this is the operator. Whoops, opper, we're going to call it. Whoops. Opper. Cool. And then this one is the command word. Really? Thanks. And then argument 3 is going to be static response. Alright, questions in here. You've switched to Linux dual boot, so your Windows is on a hard disk. Oh, yeah, VFRZ, if you're stuck on a hard disk, that sounds terrible. Visual Studio is a beast. It will not do well for you like that. And static response. We're gonna... Oh, it wants to create an overload. Why, thank you. How did you know I wanted to create an overload? What brilliance. How did you guess, you piece of garbage? Okay, so that was doing toSimpleCommand from a set of Ventargs. So, I'm actually going to put this code back here because I want to go steal this method. It took an argument list, gave us back those values. So we're not going to do this anymore. It's only called from one place anyway. So this no longer needs to be an extension method, but what it's going to take in... Whoops. That is the wrong place for this. We're going to jump back over to here. This is where that's going to live for now until I move it to the right place. It does not belong here, but it didn't belong where it was either. Make simple command. Well, actually, does simple command just have a constructor I can use? I'm just going to use the constructor. Who am I kidding? Argument 1 is what? Our command text, so that's the command word, which makes this the static response and makes this everyone. That's the specified role. Element adder default 3. So enum dot parse dot try parse. We're gonna do this. We're gonna bring it in that way. It'll come in as a string. We're gonna say enum dot try parse the role, and we're gonna say ignore case, and then we're gonna say out, and our enum is a user role. We're gonna call it role. That'll be role text. Tex? No, it's not Texas. Okay. This is going to be user role. What's my default user role? Streamer? But I don't want it to be in this case. That's a good question. So I'm going to say if that, if not this, then role equals everyone. Not the worst. Yeah, stringly typed. And then I'm going to use role in here. These are static responses, is the way these work, so I really feel like everyone's probably the response on a commands command. That can't be null. Maybe we want it to be able to be null. Do we not have access to the repository? Does our base command not give us that? We made it private? Really? Everybody's got it. Why not be able to use it? That's probably going to break everything, right? All commands. Add commands command had access to the all commands collection. Commands command has it anyway, though. One's an enumerable and one's a list, though. This will be an I list, because I don't know why it wouldn't be. So we're going to nuke that one. This will live as part of this. So add command. We're going to create that. We have access to a repository. That now should work. All right. So now the other side of that is the remove commands. Remove commands command. So now we basically need the reverse. which in this case is going to be, we'll say del command, since we kind of called it that already. This is not going to need as many parameters, so command word, and we don't need any of the others, so let's remove those last ones. So we just need the command word that we're using. Hate it when the tools that I'm using try to help me too much. What is this, Malachi? What did you type? Is it something I should look at, Malachi? Alright, for delete command, we're going to pass this in repository. Instead of command word, we're going to have command text. Then I'm going to change it to command word, because magic. And that is also going to be a repository. Oops, a repository. A repository. There we go. Very nice. Now this needs to get restricted as well. So we only want to be able to do these commands if you are of the correct role. So essentially what I want to say is this. This is show all commands. So we're going to create a method for that, and we're going to take this set of data and shove it right in there. And chat user can run command. So I need to send in chat user. Chat user. So we're going to add that parameter. Okay, that's a little nicer. And we also need to pass in the chat client. So I'm going to say iChat client, iChat user. So we're going to pass in the chat client as well, because this does report back about what it's doing. Really? It wants to warn me about a possible null reference exception? Right. Does the dev chatter bot know that Nightbot is trying to take his job? They do different jobs, Async Awake. The Nightbot just does moderator stuff, and the dev chatter bot does no moderator stuff. And the reason why is because everybody loves the dev chatter bot, because it's nice and friendly. And the Nightbot is a jerk that yells at you about stuff. So that's the big difference. Okay, so we got that. I now need to restrict those two. So I need to lock down the permissions of these. So I'm going to say, oh, I didn't pass in the user to them. We're going to need to. So this is going to be chat user and chat user. Add that parameter and add that parameter. And the reason why is because right off the bat we need to say if chat user dot can user run command and user role dot mod, and I know a bunch of people were hoping I would forget to do this. We're gonna say if the user cannot get mod access, they're not allowed to delete a command, and if they can't get mod access, they're not allowed to run a command. Probably should have done that first. to be a moderator to add a command, and chat client dot send message. You need to be a moderator to delete a command. Yes, exactly. Good cop, bad cop, or good bot, bad bot. You have the idea exactly there, Async Awake. There's a good bot and there's a bad bot. Alright. So now, in theory, I can get rid of the pieces that we no longer need, which should be the remove command that is no longer necessary. So remove command and add command should both be able to disappear. And now I need to go to where they're declared in here and nuke them. So add quote and add those. I am going to restart the bot. And let's see if this works. Frankly, Shin, I do like these headphones that I've got. They're pretty nice. I can wear them for hours on end without discomfort. So that's good. They are over the ear, so my ear is entirely inside of them. They're like fairly soft padding on these, so it's not too bad. And wireless, so lets me walk around. I don't get tied down, which is nice. I have no wires to knock around anywhere, so big fan of that. So let's do commands, add. We're going to make a hello world command that responds with hello world. Wish me luck. Hello world. Oh, I wrote hello word. Well, that messed up, and it responds back. Okay, cool. So now, let's do commands, delete, hello word. So it says it removed it. Hello word. Nice. Looks like we got it. Now you just need remote charging for the wireless headset. Yeah, every once in a while. So actually the few hours, you would be surprised how long it is. It's roughly at the end of 2 days of wearing these for a full work day. So is when I need to plug it in. So it'll get me a good like 15 hours or so before I need to plug in. So that's why you guys so rarely see me with a wire dangling out of these things. So since that piece works, I am going to go ahead and check this in. So this is add remove command included in command in commands command. All right, there we go. I'm going to push that up. I am not going to merge this one in right away. I am hoping I can get someone else to review this and just make sure that it's not crazy. Actually, I am going to make the pull request, but not merge it. So let's go ahead and make that pull request. Yes, I agree. It would be great to do that. What did we do, to be honest? Move some classes around, fix ad code. Okay. I'm just going to call this code cleanup on stream. On Stram. On Stram, guys. On Stram. Nothing to show? Okay, well. If someone wants to review that code and make sure I didn't do anything totally crazy, I would appreciate it. But let me know if you find anything on that. I would appreciate it. I think we are going to wrap here. So I started a little late. We should be at around 2 hours. We should be over 2 hours. I'm going to do my uptime command. So I've been going for 2 hours, 15 minutes. So apparently I didn't start that late, as I expected. So a couple of things before you all go. Make sure you check out our GitHub. That's what I've got pulled up on screen here. You can go and take a look at our issues list if you want to contribute, or if you want to tell us about something that you noticed about our project, something you want us to add, something you think would be fun. You can fork the repository to get yourself a copy of it and work on it. And you can also watch or star it to keep track of things. All up to you. You can send us pull requests, we'll review them and get them merged in. We'll talk about them. It's a nice way to get things done. Additionally, if you want to keep talking to us, that's anybody that's in the Dev Chatter community. There are actually a number of us that talk on Discord, especially as people are doing pull requests. They sometimes want to talk to somebody else about the code they're writing. So that gives you the chance to chat with other C# enthusiasts about the code you're writing. So go ahead and join that if you like. And you can follow us on Twitter, which I think I've got a Twitter thing there. Yeah, I do. So that'll get you notified of anything we're doing. So some people were informed early that we were going to be starting a little late today. So they knew about that already. And I mentioned I'm going to be putting archives of our videos out on YouTube. The plan is to have one video show up on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So essentially YouTube will start catching up to Twitch at some point. I'm going to relax that so it's going at about the same pace as Twitch. But there'll always be a little bit of a lag time before things show up on YouTube. And the reason for that is that Twitch affiliates are supposed to give Twitch a small window of exclusivity. I believe it's 24 hours. But if you check out those locations, you can see all the stuff we're working on. Remember, you can see our schedule. It is down below in the panels. Or if you want to find it elsewhere, you can go to Dev Chatter and go to Stream Info, and you'll see that I have what our regular schedule is written right here. You will need to translate this one into your local time, because it does not. It's just text. But anytime I plan a specific stream, I will put the info about what we're going to do. So if we have a guest that's going to show up, for example, I will put that one in there, and you'll be able to see who is showing up and what we're planning on doing with that guest. So thank you, everyone, for stopping by today. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. If you did and you haven't clicked that follow button, go ahead and click it. And you will be notified when our stream actually goes live, which is actually quite useful. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for following, chatting, and being as awesome as you usually are. So have a great day, and happy coding. Good job, Sky Hoshi. That was perfect timing. Come on. Look at this. I've got a sore throat, and I've been going for like 2 hours, 20 minutes. That's gotta give me a break here, Sky Hoshi. Anyway, have a good one. Bye, everybody. And, yeah, hype it all up.